March Madness is finally back. After missing out on last year's big dance, we're all itching to print out those brackets and get our picks in, but there's money and bragging rights at stake here. And unless you spent quarantine simulating potential tournament matchups, we know you're probably a bit rusty. With 9.2 quintillion different possible tournament outcomes, here are 8 foolproof tips to filling out your March Madness bracket. No number 1 team has ever lost to a 16 seed. Wait, except for that one time when Virginia was upset by UMBC and made us experts look like idiots. Could that happen again? Sure. Will it? Probably not. Upsets happen, but usually not past the round of 32. The 12-5 and 13-4 games are some of the most competitive matchups in the first round, but Sporting News cannot be responsible for you losing all of your stonks money because you picked an 11 seed to be in the championship game. The smart play is to predict an end to the madness, or at least most of it, after the second weekend. If you insist on using the highly scientific method of picking teams based on uniform colors, blue is best. Even though blue blood programs like Kentucky and Duke aren't dancing this year, there are still so many top-seeded blue teams to choose from. Gonzaga, Michigan, Kansas, West Virginia, or maybe you like orange. Oddly enough, there are 6 teams in the Midwest region alone with orange as their primary color, number 1 seeded Illinois being one of them. What's their secondary color, you ask? Blue. Mascots! Who doesn't fantasize about which mascot would win in an epic battle of mascot mayhem? Especially this year. We've got antelopes, bonnies, gales, gauchos, mean green, and ramblers. Or you can stick with the funky yet functional classics like Zags, Illini, Wolverines, and Jayhawks. Oh, and if you see a potential future matchup of teams with the same mascot, like Wildcats versus Wildcats, just write in the nickname and hope the person in charge of your pool doesn't notice. It's not cheating unless you get caught. The major conferences almost always win the big dance. There are 31 NCAA D1 conferences competing in the 2021 tournament, but that's where the parity ends. The ACC, Big East, SEC, Big Ten, Pac-12, and Big 12 have combined for 32 of the 35 national titles since 1985. Sure, there have been few exceptions, but the only real contender to break that trend this year is the West Coast Conference and their number 1 seeded Gonzaga Bulldogs. Don't have your alma mater winning the whole thing unless it's a true contender, or at least in the actual tournament. College basketball and football are the only 2 major sports where it is acceptable to say we, but don't be so much of a homer that your loyalty blinds you from making smart choices. Put your school spirit aside and use that college-educated brain of yours to recognize your team's true potential, or lack thereof. Flipping a coin to decide an 8-9 matchup is perfectly acceptable.
Call it. Call it, yes. For a whole lot. Just call it.
The selection committee leaned on rankings instead of geography this year, making this the most accurately bracketed tournament maybe ever. So these close-seeded matchups are literally a toss-up. Don't stress researching these games. Instead, focus on finding the right 12 seed to pick against a 5 seed. And finally, it's important to remember that anything can happen.
Anything's possible!
And you're probably going to burn your bracket after the first round anyway. But that's why they call it March Madness. So fill out those brackets, get your TVs ready, and let the madness begin.